Welcome back to Black Hat 2025. It's day one wrap up. Can you believe it? First
No.
day is in the books.
I know, but it's early.
It's early.
Usually
now-
it's like 6 p.m.
Yeah, I
when
know,
we're
I
doing
know.
this.
So I tell the story, right? Paul and I did this the first year. We did it in 2019 in a suite just like this, right?
You did. I
We
was
actually
here.
had two of them. And we were rotating every 15 minutes. We did 28 interviews in 2 days. I was exhausted.
I was there.
At the end. Yeah, you guys were here. This seemed easy today. I don't know. I think Sam and Renee and everybody did a great job just getting us a succinct set of interviews. We're doing them over 3 days. So good coverage, but not too stressful.
Yeah, I think over all these many years of us doing this, they've come up with really good, consistent systems instead of like the early days where it was just kind of like go crazy, hang on, light cigars in the suite.
Oh, yeah.
And,
We had
and,
cigars.
and there's 14 bottles of alcohol sitting
right
over there,
there was
which
the
that
bar.
probably
Yep.
didn't help keep things on track.
No, it didn't. Somebody asked. Oh, it was Mickey.
He did?
He asked. He goes, "Were you guys smoking cigars back in here in 2019?" I said, "Of course
No,
we were."
in 2019,
we
yeah.
were.
Because
Heck yeah.
I told people that was the first thing Paul said when he walked in was he was like, "What's the fine?" And he asked Sam. He was like, "What's the fine for lighting cigars in here?" And she was like, "I think it's like $500 or $700."
It's
Paul, and he was
$500
like,
bucks.
"Okay, good."
Yep.
And it was like, "Here we go."
They didn't charge us, by the way.
No, they didn't. Yeah, just don't tell them. They may charge you now.
Right.
But
Any themes you've detected so far in the day one interviews?
well, I think definitely AI is a theme
Yes.
that's going on. I did have a few people talking about identity management kind of issues, although we always kind of end up going back to AI. And we talked about supply chain, which slowly worked our way back to AI.
It did too, yeah. And so it was interesting because I've gotten AI from 3 different angles already in day one. It's a hot topic, and I think it's a hot topic because regardless of what security says, businesses are trying to figure out how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to use it. They're using it whether we like it or not as security practitioners. So the question is, what do we do about it, right? And how do we build guardrails around it, and how do we secure it, et cetera? And so it's definitely a hot topic. I think it will continue to be over the next couple days as we go through.
I think so too. I mean, I'm going to refine my answer a little bit from AI to say agentic AI.
Yes.
I mean, I think is more of the issue. And I think over the next few years, we're kind of in this, it's like when we move from like agrarian society to industrial society, we're now moving from this sort of I don't know, technological society into this agentic AI society.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time for companies and society to learn how to deal with new things.
Yes.
So in the early days of the Industrial Revolution, there was a lot of horrible injuries and safety problems and all this kind of stuff that we learned. That's not a good idea.
Right.
And
then we created OSHA and organizations to help protect
and
employee safety.
so I think as we learn going forward on AI, we have to learn what's dangerous,
Mm-hmm.
what's good, and we just have to hope we can keep it on the rails in the meantime.
Yeah, yeah, keep it on the rails. And I use real stories because I'm building some of this.
Mm-hmm.
Part of my day job is to build some of these capabilities, right? And so it's always interesting. It was funny, the last interview we did with GitLab and Josh, he goes, "This is a great opportunity for you kind of, do objection checking, right? Because how do you build trust with something that somebody built that logs into one of your systems, does something, and puts an output, and you don't quite know what it's doing? How do you observe what it's doing, right?" And it was funny, he goes, "Well, you already have tools for that, right? You should, because if it were a human doing it and you saw a human starting to do something malicious, wouldn't all your insider detection stuff go off?" I go, "That's a great point." So trust is a combination of how do you secure the AI models and the data in the AI models, and how do you leverage your existing tool set as another set of checks and wrap all that together in an agentic AI security program. And I think everybody's doing it from a point perspective. But that interview opened my eyes a little bit to be like, no, wait. There's other tools in the toolbox along with agentic specific stuff that when I bring them all together, now I can start to build a more holistic program. So I want to see how that trends over the week.
Yeah, well, I was talking to Teresa from LevelBlue earlier, and we were talking about the sort of inconsistencies and things in AI.
Oh, yeah.
which is one of the problems, because I can kind of predict what humans are going to do with a few assumptions around the humans. But and I would attest to this as well. If I asked the same question, and she said she was asking the LLMs to explain the game of baseball to her in like 3 or 4 sentences, and she said if she asked the same question, the same exact question minutes later, she got different answers every time. And I could attest to that too, because if I ask it to write me a piece of code, I can steer it in a way I want it to go, which is not good. Just like me influencing a person. If I could go to a police officer and say, now, speeding is not really speeding, and driving under the influence is not really under the influence, depending, and I could it could cause a police officer to go, no, buddy, you're busted. Yeah. But if the police officer instead was going, you're absolutely right. I think we should redefine the law. You're free to go. And I kind of got that vibe off of a lot of ChatGPT stuff when I was asking it coding questions, because I was trying to test some of this stuff. And it would literally give me a different answer each time I asked the same question. And I also started experimenting with injecting, not trying to hack it, not trying to do anything to it, but just literally how I asked my question, I could cause it. It was almost like it tried a little too hard to please me when I was asking something like, I wish you could save these files on my hard drive. It was like, I can save those files on your hard drive. I'm like, no, you're lying to me to my face. You can't do that. I know you can't do that. And it would be like, yeah, you're right. And it's like, what in the hell?
I do know that there are differences in the models, because as we've been testing stuff, we know that Claude does really well in certain scenarios.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Gemini does really well in other
instances. I play them against each other.
OpenAI. And so we've been trying to, and this is the challenge, because it's almost impossible to pick one model to do it all. Which means now you have multiple models that you have to really architect your security around, is because OpenAI is really good at this, Claude's really good at this, etc. And so now what you have is, depending on the task, depending on what you're trying to build, you now not only have one AI model to secure, now you have
3 or 4.
3 or 4. And if it's more than one, then it's N, right?
Yeah, I was trying to find an API that would let me interface them with each other. Because I was like, is there a way to attach Gemini to ChatGPT so they can talk to each other? So that like I could go, ChatGPT, could you just have Gemini explain this to you because you're an idiot and you didn't do this right, or vice versa? Because it depends, like you said, it depends on what you're doing. Like when I was doing configs, I found Gemini was far better at that. Now, again, it was also dependent on what I was configuring. Like, okay, what thing am I trying to set up? And that had a huge impact on it. But yeah, but I think the problem is it's very inconsistent at this point. We're in this very dynamic phase of this hasn't stabilized yet. We're in that little jagged part of the graph for business paradigm shift. And that's a worrisome place to be, because you don't know where that's going to land, where that needle is going to stop when it finally does stop. But it will. There will come a time when
there will become a time well, I don't know that stops, but it gets more stable.
Well, yeah, it never stops, but it starts moving in an almost imperceptible way for at least a little while.
Yeah, it's kind of like AC current.
Or the AIs take over.
It's like AC current.
Yeah, AC current's never perfect, but it's close. It's close. It's close.
So definitely took a lot away from the AI side today.
I did.
It'll be interesting to see what else. You had an interesting conversation on ransomware, the gift that keeps on giving. Did you? I heard part of the interview segment, but I'm curious, like, why haven't we solved for the ransomware problem yet? What is stopping us from actually preventing ransomware? Like, can we ever get there, or is this going to be one of these problems that just persists forever?
I think it's just a shifting problem that, once somebody figured out that it works, unless you had a way to perfectly secure a system and perfectly secure people's confidence in said system. Because we were talking about this from Simperis, I don't know if I'm saying it right. Simperis, yeah, I think I said it right. We were talking about how, you're ranging from nation state organized crime that is just literally turning this into a business, all the way down to somebody who just says, I could do this and get in on the fun, and I don't have a clue what I'm doing, and I'm asking an AI to help me generate some algorithm.
Right. Now you just brought up the vibe coding thing a little bit.
And I mean, I thought, honestly, I thought this would be over when we got people to make good backups. I mean, that's a naive feeling, but I really felt like when we get companies to have good backups and they're out of band and you can't get to them and their restores work and they've got a plan for that, ransomware will become pointless and it will stop. But then the ransomware people said, but wait a second. What if we stole the data first and threatened to release it to the general public? And I was like, well, why would they? Oh, because no, that would be bad. You wouldn't want that. And so it just continues, and of course that adds into then people faking that and on and on and on. And I don't know if it ever goes away. I think maybe it becomes something in the background so that maybe it's not so worrisome. But I mean,
and I'm surprised there hasn't been. I mean, there's been some innovation in this space, but no one's actually. I mean, maybe ThreatLocker can say they can kind of thwart it because they're a deny first, and therefore they're ransomware resistant. But when I look at, I haven't seen enough innovation at the endpoint outside of what ThreatLocker is doing initially to be like, well, yeah, I can just stop it in its tracks, right? I know the endpoints are doing a better job, but no one's like prevented it from happening. And you would think that over the past 3, 4, 5 years, as this topic's continue to evolve, that somebody would have found a way to stop it. I don't know. Maybe I'm naive.
I mean, I guess ultimately, if zero trust was an absolute, which we all know it's not,
right?
If zero trust was an absolute, I have a threat. Look, I'm going to show. If I had extra shirts, I would have ripped my shirt open. Look, threat locker. But. If zero trust was absolute, if you could literally say we've denied everything, nothing can happen without all these layers of approval, then maybe. But we can't do that. We're always going to have to allow some stuff. We're always going to have to allow workers to work. We're always going to have to allow users to use. And the minute we do that, we've added the possibility of that happening. And as long as there's, exploitable software. I mean, it doesn't have to always be the weakest link of those poor humans. It can always be, this module in this software's got a vulnerability in it. And maybe there's even other vectors for it. I mean, I still think there's other things we haven't seen from that. It's been going on forever. People have been extorting people forever.
So we see the rise of ransomware. We see the rise in talking about zero trust. We haven't accomplished zero trust. We made some gains in zero trust, but we haven't solved it yet. Then we shift and we were like, wait, squirrel, and we go over to Agentic. Now we're over here talking about Agentic AI. So now what we need a zero trust Agentic AI capability. I think
there you go.
Is what we need. That's
zero
going to be the new market.
You heard
segment.
it here first. Zero trust Agentic AI. Patent pending.
ZTAI.
Trademark.
That's what's coming, folks, because it's the only way we're going to solve for all these crazy problems in the industry.
And now you're back to Neuromancer. Well, I mean, you are. I mean, that was what Neuromancer was ultimately about, was AIs toying with humans, right? I mean, that the AIs are fighting other AIs, without AIs, and manipulating humans into fighting AIs. And I know that's sci-fi, but it starts to sound a lot more true when we start saying, my agentic AI can beat up your agentic AI.
And look, agentic AI is being used by attackers on the offensive side. We're trying to figure out how to use it on the defensive side. We're at a disadvantage in some respects because we got to make sure that those protections don't break other things, but the attackers don't care. So they're going to use whatever code they can get fast to try to break things because that's their goal. They're trying to break things. So as defenders, not only are we behind, I don't even know how we get even close to catching up.
Maybe you never catch up. It just you have to determine what's acceptable levels of risk and ensure all the rest. I mean, if you say we can live with this,
and you have good backups and the restores work,
and maybe you don't have a lot of you have to know your data sinks. Like, what do we got? I mean that to me, that's this modern thing about what do we have? Where is it? Who can touch it? and how much does it hurt us if it gets loose?
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, and we don't do that. I mean, that's something we do very poorly because, I mean, you go to companies and talk to them about, you ask them that very question, where's your data? They're like, oh, what do you mean by data? Like, everything you have, like spreadsheets, databases, customer information, where is it? And they're like, oh, I don't know, like the cloud maybe?
Yeah, it's everywhere.
And I'm like, you don't even know where it is. So I guess when I ask you the second question of who has access to it, like read access, or like, oh, how would we even get that? And I mean, I did that once. I did that this was long ago. We did that to the ACLs in Windows NT something. And I found a piece of software that was called Dump ACL. And we ran it, and the report was like, we had to stop the printer. It was going to be like 90,000 pages. And they were like, you sure you want to print all this? And I'm like, no, we need to stop now. We printed like 900 pages. I'm like, this is useless. I mean, how
now what you do is you take Dump ACL and you send it to an LLM and have it go process it.
And you just hope the LLM is benevolent.
Yep. That's it. That's a wrap for day one. But stay tuned. We got 2 more days, folks. We'll be back in the suite tomorrow. 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. Join us at Black Hat 2025.